Hello everyone, my name is Shonda and welcome to my channel Under the Needle. So I'm here today with a pattern review. So want to give you a little bit of backstory. So I, if you watch my channel, you know that one of the subscription boxes that I get is the Open Gate quilt subscription box, okay? And the curator of that box is Monique Jacobs, and she came out with a fabric line last year called Amore. Now, I absolutely fell in love with this fabric line. I'm going to try to see if I can show it to you. It's kind of hard to see probably. The greens are looking tan. So it's we've got the purples, and then we have some like kind of white and silver, and then some green. And the green is translating a little tannish in the picture. But so I love the fabric line. Okay, I didn't know if I was gonna buy it or what I was gonna do with it if I did buy it, so I just kind of held off. And then the queen herself, Jenny Doan, did a quilt using that fabric, and I was like, "That's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. I gotta have it. Like I have to have the fabric. I have to make this quilt." So the name of the quilt is called Diamond Terrace. And so, of course, it is available as a standalone pattern on the Missouri Star website. But it is, I got mine because I get Block Magazine, and that particular quilt was in Block Magazine. This is the quilt. This is not the fabric line, of course, because if you follow Jenny, then you know that when they do a tutorial, if they put that same pattern in the Block Magazine, they'll deliberately do it in a completely different fabric to show you the versatility of the pattern and how different it looks depending on what you decide to do and what fabric you decide to use. So let's see if I can find Jenny's lovely quilt here so that I can kind of show you guys. Here we go. It's a little fuzzy. So this was Jenny's quilt using the fabric line, using the Amore fabric line. So I found a jelly roll and just decided that I was going to make this quilt. So I've made the top, except I haven't put on the borders yet because I wanted to go ahead and get this video made, and I figured the borders really weren't necessary to show you the pattern and how it is. Now, my favorite patterns do a few things. For me, a top-rated pattern is going to potentially give me a cutting diagram, right? To show me how to get the most, how to get the most out of my piece of fabric. It's So Emma, Fat Quarter Shop, they do this all the time. So when they'll show you a picture of that fat quarter or a picture of that layer cake square, and then they'll have lines on it to show you how to cut it up. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate very much pressing instructions. I appreciate pressing instructions very much. But if you watch Jenny's tutorials, if you've watched her iron, she doesn't really care sometimes about those seams. As long as they're flat. I mean, she irons from the back first. I'm going to iron it from the, I can't do that. If I try to iron it from the back, I get a pleat in it every time on the front. I cannot iron from the back first. I don't know how Jenny does it, but she'll turn that block over and press it from the back and turn it over and press it from the front and done. So they don't really have a lot of pressing instructions in their patterns, okay? But I do personally give a little bit of leeway depending on the cost of the pattern. I have much higher requirements if I'm paying $10 to $12 to $14 for one single pattern versus getting 10 patterns for $8 in a magazine. So anywho, so I'm going to show you the quilt, and then I'll talk a little bit about the construction. So again, it's called Diamond Terrace. I made mine a little differently than Jenny, Mrs. Jenny's, because Jenny's quilt is 90 by 95. No. I don't want a 90 by 95 quilt. That's large. And then I also prefer, it's kind of squarish, right? Because there's only 5 inches difference between the length and the width. So it's going to look pretty much like square. And I don't really like square quilts. So I made less blocks. So each block, okay. So this is your block, this little half piece. So you put 2 blocks together to get the full block. You put 2 together. So each half is its own block. So Jenny did 80. This pattern calls for 80 blocks. And your blocks are 8 by 10.5 unfinished, 7.5 by 10 finished. So instead of making 80 blocks, I made 60 blocks. And I did mine, was it 60? Yeah. No, I made 64 blocks. And I did mine 8 across and 8 down. And so, since it's smaller across than it is down, you know, it kind of, it worked out, right? It worked out. So let's see. I think my finished quilt, wrote my dimensions here. This is all my this is all my math work when I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with a quilt, and how I want to make it. So, and how many blocks. So like I looked at, how many blocks do I want to make? So it's like, okay, well, if I do 36 blocks, if I do 56 blocks, if I do 64 blocks, this is how many pieces I'm going to need to cut, right? Because the cutting instructions are to make 80 blocks, and I decided to make 64 blocks. So, I don't want to cut the same number of pieces. So I've got to figure out how many pieces to cut. So this is all my math work here. So, to make it, yeah, 8 by 8, it ends up being 59 by 80. And then I'm going to put a 2.5 inch strip around the whole thing there. So here's my quilt. I have a pin in it here because this is how I remember my top left corner, right? So I'm not trying to remember which is the right way for my quilt. So this is my quilt. I love how this thing came out. I will not be giving it away at all. This is mine. This is mine. So what I did was, because I used less blocks, I didn't use all of the white blocks. So, or the white strips, I should say. So these are my leftover jelly rolls. I have one leftover. I used all of the green strips, and I used all of the white strips that had color in them. And I used all of the purples except for this one because I needed 32 jelly roll strips. So to make it my size, Jenny used the entire jelly roll. She used all 40 strips. I used 32 strips. So I took out the strips that didn't really have a lot of color. So we have the scrolls, the silver scrolls. I have 2 of those. I have kind of writing. And then the leaves. And then I had 2 strips of this kind of plant. I don't know. So I removed these strips and this one purple strip here to make my quilt. So all I have left to do is to put a 2.5-inch black border around the entire thing. And the only reason really I'm doing that, I'm not going to do another border. If you see in Jenny's quilt, she did a full border. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to make it any bigger. And I'm really happy with this size. And the main reason I'm putting the 2.5-inch border on here is really just so that once it's quilted, I won't lose any of my blocks when I trim up the quilt. But it came out pretty square, so I'm thinking it's going to be fine, even if I didn't. But I think I just kind of prefer not to lose some part of the block in the binding even. So the whites that I chose to use are like this one here, because it's got like nice color in it. And this one here, I chose to use this one. And this one here. So I really like how this came out. And this quilted, this went together pretty quickly as well. Not as quickly as Color Study. That went together really, really fast. This was a little bit longer, but not much. I think you could conceivably do this in a weekend, even though I probably stretched it out over about a week. So the cutting, super simple, okay? You basically cut your jelly roll strips the exact same way. You cut a 4.5-inch rectangle. That's it. And you cut 4.5-inch rectangles out of your jelly roll. That's it. So super easy to cut. And then you're just going to keep like colors together or like prints together. So, I think you need 5, right? So out of this, I can get 2 blocks, I think 2 blocks. Something like that. Anyway, so let's see. The pattern will tell me how many rectangles I can get from this. 10. Oh, sorry, not 4.5, 4-inch. Sorry, not 4-inch. You cut it into 4-inch strips, so you can get 10 2.5 by 4-inch rectangles from each strip, and then you can use that to make 2 blocks. Because remember, your block is half this side. So that's how you cut all your jelly rolls. Super easy. And your background is easy too, because you're going to cut 4.5-inch rectangles. And that's where I got confused before. So the background is 4.5-inch, and then you're going to cut 2.5-inch squares. It's super easy to chain piece because you're going to put a 2.5-inch square on either side of your 4-inch print. So when I ran them through the sewing machine, I just kind of put one 2.5-inch background square on top of my 4-inch print strip or print rectangle, and I ran all of those through the sewing machine. And then I did the 4.5-inch background square or background rectangle with the 4-inch print rectangle, and then I fed those through the machine, and then I snipped off the first set that I put through with the one background square, and I fed them back through with the second square, if that makes any sense. So I was able to kind of quickly chain piece everything, and I did them by print. So if I was starting with this print here, I would first run through this here. See, this is a 2.5-inch square, 2.5-inch square, and then there's my 4-inch piece in the middle. So I would start with this green, and I would just do all the ones that needed the 2.5-inch square, and then run through. So once I put all those through, then put in the other ones for the rectangle pieces. Your 4.5-inch background, and your 4-inch print, and I run those through. And then I would go back and snip these off. So I would snip this section off of my chain piece and then run them back through with the other square. So it chain piece super quickly. It went really fast. And so I kind of did all of that, and then I ironed them. And then once they were ironed, then you start sewing these strips together, because you end up with these strips. You have this one here with a 4-inch print and a 4.5-inch background. And then next you have the piece with the two background squares on the end and the print in the middle. And then you have another piece with background and print. And then you have your second piece with 2 squares and a print. And then you have your third piece again with the background rectangle and the print rectangle. So there's like 5 strips. So there's 2 pieces in each block that are background squares on either side of a print rectangle. And then there's 3 pieces in each block that are a print rectangle and a background rectangle. So when you get to that part, that chain piecing was really easy as well. I took a picture of how I did my chain piecing. So I just kind of laid it against my machine. Let's see here. Like this. So there under the needle is the piece that I'm sewing. So so this over here, those are the first two pieces. So I kind of layered those on top of each other, sewed those, and then each one. So I would sew this entire stack here that's over here. I would just sew that entire stack, and then I would press it, because I just prefer to press it after each seam. And then I would run them back through, and I would grab the 3rd strip and I'd run them through, press it, and then I would grab the 4th strip, run them through, press it, and the 5th strip and run them through and press it. And that's how I did my chain piecing. So that went together really well, is really quickly as well. So definitely took advantage of the chain piecing. Like here you can see I've got the first 3 strips on, and I have to put strip 4 and 5 still need to go. So it went together really quick. And then as far as pressing, this is what I'll say. As long as you press everything the same way. So when you make the individual units, when you make these little strips, it doesn't matter how you press these at all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You press them however you want to press them. You don't have to press them the same. I pressed mine the same just because for iron flow, it was just easier to just, kind of have a flow. And so to do them the same way and kind of flow with it in that way. So I pressed mine the same just because I did, but you don't have to. Not for that part. When you are constructing the block and you're putting your 5 strips together, and that would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will say that when you put those together, you want to press those all the same way. So when I chain pieced, I pressed everything to the new strip, right? So I put strip 1 with strip 2, I pressed towards strip 2. I added strip 3, pressed towards strip 3. I added strip 4, and then pressed to that strip, and so on until I got all 5 added. And I kept it the same way. If you do it that way, if you press them all exactly the same, then when you put them together to make, the diamond, all of your seams will nest. Yeah. So that's what I did. So I am happier than a kid with cake right now, because I love this fabric. I love this pattern. And to me, the pattern just really complemented this fabric. Like, it just really complemented it. I like this so much better than the one that's in block. When they changed up the fabric. To me, This fabric on the black, it just pops so well. This would work really well with some really nice batiks as well. Like I could see that. I could see that being super pretty. To get you some nice, some nice vibrant batiks and put them on a nice black background. I think that will look pretty awesome as well. I am over the moon. Um, I hadn't sewn for a while, and now I think I'm gonna have to stop because I've literally done 3 new quilt tops in the last 6 weeks. I think I did this one. I did color study with the Balboa fabric, and I did Perfect 10, and I think I did them all in like 3 weeks or something like that. I mean 6 weeks, 6 or 7. I don't know. But all I know is that I just didn't feel like working on any of my UFOs. Like I think I wasn't sewing because I was forcing myself to pick up something that I had already worked on, and I just didn't have the excitement for it, and I just didn't want to do it. And so I just didn't sew at all because interested in I just wasn't interested in picking up any of my UFOs. So I've just been sewing new quilt tops. And it's brought my joy back. So there. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I really don't. I think I'm not going to make another new quilt top. I have a quilt that I'm looking at right now that just needs binding. So I think I might do that and just get it done so that quilt is finished. Because it's even trimmed. It's trimmed and it just needs to be bound. So I just need to do that. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my quilting life here. I don't know. But I do thank you for watching. I hope you like my quilt as much as I like my quilt. I think the thing is gorgeous. I am in love. I am infatuated. I am over the moon. I love this quilt. It's probably my favorite one right now. It's like having a favorite child. Feels wrong to say it's my favorite, but anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. So the pattern is Diamond Terrace. It is by Missouri Star Quilt Company. It uses 1 jelly roll or 40 2.5 inch by width of fabric strips, and 4 yards of background fabric, which includes the inner border, and 1 3 yards of binding. I'm sorry, outer border. I can't get my life together. And 3/4 yards of binding. I, however, did a smaller quilt, and my quilt uses 32 jelly roll strips, and it used how much yardage did I have here? I needed 25. No, sorry. 38. I needed 38 38 background strips to make this quilt. So I don't know how many yards that is, but it's slightly over a yard. Well, 2 yards. 2 yards and change. So yeah, I used 22 strips to cut my 4.5 inch background rectangles and 16 strips to cut my 2.5 inch squares. And yeah. So, and my quilt will finish at by the time I add the border, 61 by 82. So I'm happy with it. I love it. I hope you guys might want to make this quilt, or just admire mine if you don't want to make your own, because I'm super proud of myself right now. And I don't know why, because this is not a complicated quilt. This is super easy, actually, but I'm still proud of myself. I don't care. And I think I'm probably gonna, I have not basted or quilted a quilt in quite some time, not a full size one. So I'm probably going to do that just because I want to see what this looks like finished. I'm so excited. So I have plans this weekend, but I am off on Monday. So probably I will base this thing on Monday and start the quilting process because I am excited. I just have to pick a backing because I don't know what my backing is going to be. I'm going to this purple minky. It's not the right purple. It's not the right. I thought about putting this purple minky on the back because that would be like so snuggly, but it's not the right color minky. It's not the right color purple. I wouldn't want that particular purple. Well, anywho, I've talked long enough. This is a pattern review. It should take 12 minutes at the most, and I am at 26 because I talk too much. So that's it for me. Have a great day, and I will see you next video. Like, comment, subscribe if you like what you see, and if there's anything that you want me to show you, just let me know in the comments. Bye.